Good grand day, gems and jewels. I am your host, Corinthia Peoples, and this is Power in My Pivot. Yes, here is where we discuss how the extraordinary become extraordinary through the power of pivoting. You know, I looked up the word pivoting, right? And I just want to talk about that definition so you will totally understand how this is going and where this is going, right? So, pivoting means it is the central point or shaft on which a mechanism turns. In this context, the central point is you and me. The point or the shaft is our lives, and the mechanism is achieving our sought after vision. Pivoting. On today's edition of Power in My Pivot, I will discuss intimate details of my personal journey of pivoting and calling forth a new life experience, honey. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Power in My Pivot. Again, Power in My Pivot is a discussion and an unfoldment of how along our journeys we've had to pivot, whether that's been circumstantially, voluntarily, or just by sheer survival. It's a talk of our soul's journey and the evolution of us as humans. Welcome to the room. Come on in here. Come on in here. Welcome to the room. This is an interparticipatory dialogue. So feel free to drop comments and chats, ask questions, and join into the discussion. Come into the room. Come into the room. Come, come, come. You are welcome. I see I have one person here. So, the show goes on, whether there's 1, 2, 3, or 10,000, right? So thank you for joining in. I am privileged to have you here, to have your attention. So I want to start with my own personal journey of how I've had to pivot. I've had to pivot many of times, but I'm going to share a story with you about a particular pivotal point in my life. Like I said, there's been plenty of them, but I'm going to share with you one of them today. So in my 20s and early 30s, I found myself searching for a new career experience. At the time, I was in retail and I wanted to shift out of retail. So I did. I set out for something new and I landed a job in an office where they sold like squeegees, right? Which was different from retail because now I'm in front of a computer, I'm filling invoices, I'm doing like this customer service type of dig, right? A part of that job was I had to fill orders. I had to fill orders. So that meant I had to go into the warehouse and grab little orders, some of the orders. I didn't have to fill all orders, but just the customer service piece of the orders. If people didn't have their orders, I would go into the warehouse. Well, the warehouse was like grim, full of like these rows upon rows of product and merchandise and squeegees and poles and twist tops and nozzles and buckets and this type of thing. So I'm doing this job and I freshly left retail. I'm looking for a new experience, right? And I'm discontented. I'm feeling very discontented with where I am. And I'm in the warehouse pulling this order for a customer that, had a customer service issue. And I'm in there and I had this thought to myself. And I asked myself, wow, is this what life's going to be for me? I have bigger dreams. I have talents that's beyond this. Is this what life is going to be? I asked myself because I was truly had discontent in my spirit. So, long story short, I quit. I went cold turkey. I quit the job based on me having bigger aspirations, feeling that I was worth so much more than this warehouse. Nothing against warehouse jobs, nothing at all. I just felt for me that I wanted to express more of myself. I wanted to express more of who I was, more of who I was meant to be, more of who I was sent here to be. So I went cold turkey. And the only, at that time, I only knew how to get a job. I only know how to get a job. So I trusted my spirit and I entered the world of temporary positions. So I was like this, I would do temp gigs until I figured it out, right? So I signed up for this temp agency and I absolutely needed, I quit the job, but I'm like, the bills and, this type of thing, that kind of came second to my discontent. So all I knew when I sat down and did my numbers is that I would need at least 40 hours a week of work in order to cover my rent, my car payment, my bills. I said to myself, I'll figure out how to eat. Eating was like second nature, but first nature was me easing my soul's cry because I was crying on the inside doing what I was doing. So I go into the world of temporary agencies, right? So I would bounce back and forth. The agency would call me for gigs and this type of thing. So it became a point where it was kind of like a little drastic. I needed a job. Or basically, I needed 40 hours a week. I didn't care how that came in a job, whether it was a temp agency or a permanent position, which I kind of preferred the temporary position because it gave me some space to kind of figure out what was for me, even to open up and see what was for me. So there was a point where these temp agencies would call me up the morning of the gig, right? So I got to the point where I was like, okay, I know I need to work today. And that's like a Monday through a Friday, right? I know I need to work today. So I would get up, get dressed, and in my mind, know that the temp agency would call me. I would have faith. I would not allow doubt or any type of adverse thinking come into my mind. I would like almost be in alignment with myself and know that I needed a job today. Fast forward. Every time I did that, that temp agency called me that morning. Are you available to go into work? Yep. I was already dressed, honey. I just needed the address of where I was going to go. So for a while, I did that. And that was okay. There was a lot of uncertainty around that. A lot of people wouldn't live life that way, but I had to because the discontent was pushing me and propelling me forward to do a new thing, right? But I had to like go through the muck. It was like I was in the valley, I was in the mud, but in the blessings, in the mud, there's blessings. In the muck, there's blessings. In the valley, there's blessings because you're rising, right? You're trying to figure out what to do. That's what I was doing. So I would get up every day, say the temp job's going to call me, it's going to call me, going to call me. It called me. I ended up fulfilling my 40 hours a week. By the grace of the Almighty Creator and the ancestors, honey, every bill got paid on time. And I ended up landing a good job where I had to do a tip work for the federal government. And I ended up staying at the federal government and becoming a permanent employee for several years. Okay. So just to go to show you, when you have faith and when you allow the discontent to be your guide versus to stop you in your tracks, that's what can happen, to allow, Kim Sean, she was on a couple of weeks back and she talked about coming out of the shadows. Every time I feel we make a decision to follow the discontent, to shift, true enough, we have to tap into a power that's greater than the reality that we have. Absolutely. Again, I'm going to say that again. We have to tap into the power that's greater than the reality that we currently have in order to make the shifts. And that discontentment leads us to blessings, right? So the Kim Sean, the coming out of the shadow, it's so true. We were sent here to do a divine gift. There's a divine plan for our lives. And if at some point we don't go beyond the box, beyond what our realities are, then we stay stuck. We stay where we are. So, we are, I feel that we are being pruned and we are being prepared for who we came here to be. As long as we're willing to pivot and don't allow doubt and fear to paralyze us and our minds, right? We're supposed to be moving. We're supposed to be pivoting. We're not supposed to stay in one place. Yes, our parents did it. Yes, they started working at 20 and stayed on their jobs until they were 65. Their families were important to them and their livelihood. And sometimes that's all they felt that they could stick with, or that's all they felt that they had, or they didn't feel that they could change or shift or turn or pivot in their lives. So they stuck. And even us, we do that today. Even me, I have done that today. But I'm here to say to you today is the discontent is our guide and our blessing. And we can grab hold to another reality, no matter where we are in our journeys, right? So, honey, I want to say that this is life. This is not the dress rehearsal. This is life. We're on stage right now. This is the live performance, honey. This is the live performance. Let's perform, baby. Let's pull it up. Let's be our authentic selves. Let's let the discontent be our guide. And through that, our blessings. And let's embrace no matter how much, because I know it gets hard. It's hard. What I'm talking, it's not easy. It's not easy. It is a muscle to work. It's a brain fart to unfuck. It's like an unfuck brain. We got to unfuck our brain almost to say. This is real deal. This is not the dress rehearsal, right? So let's pull up. Let's do what we have to do, because let me tell you, every time I've had to pivot, and this is just only one example of me pivoting, and it's scary. It's a journey. It can be sometimes even paralyzing. But in that paralyzation, we gotta unthink our thoughts. Yes, I said it. I said unthink our thoughts. We gotta give ourselves new thoughts when we're doing a new thing. Honey, because on this journey, I have had to do new things over and over and over and over again. So I definitely can speak on this topic through sheer experience. Like I said, this is a participatory type of show. Who's in the room? Comment to me. Do you have any comments? Yes, right now. Type it in there. Let me see. Let me see who's in the room. Come on in. We are just talking about my journey in my 20s and 30s of having to pivot. my own personal journey. And living on in the gigs of temporary and temp agencies, Um, yes. Hey, Queen. Hey, darling. LJ Jones. Hi, LJ. How you doing? Good. I'm glad you are in the room. Thank you so much for just kind of putting your energy out here. LJ, how you feel about changing your mind, pivoting, having one life when we say, okay, I want this. And sometimes what we want ends up being we want another thing. And it's okay to want something else. It's okay to change. Hey, Carla Lovett. Yes, yes, Carla. Yes, Carla. You can relate to pivoting. Absolutely. Carla, I know her personally, and I've seen her in her life pivot, honey, so many times, and she's not finished. See, this is the thing. I was even talking to a woman who was in her 70s. And today, honey, 70s is the new 50s because they are looking good at 70. But the elder told me, she said, still, I am changing. I said to her, oh my God, are you telling me that we don't just get it? We don't get it and we got it and we're good? She's like, no. I wanted to just fall off the chair because I thought at some point we get it. But I guess when we get it or we got it, our work is done. So why continue to live? Because in order to live, we got to continue to learn and grow. Does that make sense? Carla's talking to me. Yes, Carla, talk to me. Sometimes rejection is the Lord's blessing. Hallelujah. I always say, you are so right, Carla. And I always say rejection is God's protection. So if you're being rejected by that job, by that man, by that woman, by whomever, honey, that could be your very protection. Just go through the muck. Like I said, there's blessings in the muck. Go through the muck and unfuck the mind because we're in a serious mind fuck. We really are. Jobs and where we are and what we have to do at a particular age and how we got to be. And if it's not coming from our own hearts, from our own souls and spirits, it's a mind fuck. L.J. Jones. It's not always easy, but change is always attainable. I'm changing daily, and sometimes the transition is a struggle. Yes, indeed. The transition is a struggle, but the struggle is what I'm calling the muck, LJ. The struggle is what I'm calling the muck. The struggle is what I'm calling the valley, right? But while we down there in the muck and in the valley, there are blessings. Because baby, when we could rise up, when we rise up, we're rising. We're rising and we need no permission. We need no permission from anyone to rise. I am so grateful that you guys are talking to me. I am loving this. Thank you so much for being in the room. I appreciate you. I am going to begin the closeout of the show, but I want to share the health tip and I want to share what inspired me this week before I go. So not only on the show, Power My Pivot, do we talk about the problem, but we talk about the solution. So the problem is pivoting, is unfucking our mind. I really have to say this word. I really do, because I feel like it's the strongest word that really articulates what I want to say, because we're really under a mind fuck. It's unfucking our minds and seeing the truth of who we are, right? So this week's health tip is to say yes to your spirit, to say yes to your spirit's urging and your soul's cry. Your discontent is your guide and not your angst. So, sometimes we get anxious. We're like, oh, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. This job is getting on my nerves. This house is getting on my nerves. This and that is getting on my nerves. That's our discontent. That's our angst. Know that when we start to feel that, that's the blessing. It's a time to pivot, baby. It's a time to change. That's this week's health tip. What inspired me this week is the science and the meaning of the new age that is upon us, which is the Aquarian age. We're leaving out of the Piscean age and we're moving into the Aquarian age. And that's what inspired me, because I started to do a little research on the Aquarian age. And the Aquarian age is a time to go within, to ask the questions. Not the Piscean age was a time to go out, right? The time to ask the questions, talk to the friend. Don't get me wrong. It's always good to have a circle, a net of people. But now, it's time to really, instead of picking up the phone to call somebody, it's time to say, wait, let me not pick up the phone. Let me ask myself the why. And this is how we do that. This is how I've done this to inspire myself. I've simply been asking myself why questions. Why are you feeling down, Corinthia? Why are you feeling this way, Corinthia? Why is this on your nerves, Corinthia? Are you listening to that, Corinthia? Like asking myself the why. And at some point, if we keep asking ourselves the why, if I keep asking myself the why, at some point I'm going to start to be honest with myself. At some point, the answer to my why is going to come out, whether it's good, bad, ugly, and pretty. It's going to come out. So to unfuck the mind, to get to the you answers, because a lot of times when I would hear, go inside, the answer is within you. I'm like, what the hell? I'm trying to go inside. I don't hear the damn answer. But now I heard someone say, ask the why questions. So this Aquarian age that we're moving into is more so of the inner self, birthing itself, almost like we are birthing our own selves. Ask the why questions. The more we ask the why questions, at some point that answer is going to come up. And we're going to say, that's it. Oh my God. Yes. Thank you so much for being in the room. I'm so grateful for you guys to be here. I am super grateful for you hearing this message. And I hope it resonates. If you just came in and you want to hear the beginning, it's going to be live recorded. So please, you're welcome to do that. I want to just let you know so we can build numbers and build this message that Power in My Pivot is the name of this show. And I am the host. Next week, we will have a guest come on. Stay tuned and listen for the flyer so you'll know who will be our guest. But Power in My Pivot is a live broadcast that happens every single Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central Time, and 2 p.m. Eastern Time, right? So again, let's pivot from basic to bona fide, because there is power in your pivot. See you next Saturday.